Hey, Steve, I'm gonna go grab some wine with you.
Okay. All right.
You guys already know pretty much what we're doing.
I choose Union Bank? Because they understand that I work hard for my money and deserve. Why do I choose Union Bank? Because they understand that I work hard for my money.
Hello and good evening from the University of Findlay, and welcome to the 83rd Ohio House District Forum, sponsored by the American Association of University of Women Findlay Chapter, the Courier, UFTV, and 1330 WFIN. I'm WFIN News Director Doug Jenkins, and I'll be joined by Steve Dillon of the Courier as co-moderators for tonight's forum. Tonight's forum is an opportunity for you to find out more about the individuals running for state representative in the district that covers Hancock, Hardin, and the northern part of Logan County. Steve and I have selected the questions for this evening's forum, and neither candidate is aware of the questions that they'll be asked. The format for the forum consists of a 3-minute opening statement by each candidate, as well as 3-minute closing statements. In between we'll have our questions, and each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer them. If we feel that a follow-up question is needed, the candidates will have 90 seconds to respond to those. And if a candidate calls in to their opponent into question, Steve, I did better with this last week. If they call their opponent into question in the term of their answer, then their opponent would get a 90-second response for a rebuttal. Our participants for this evening are Cheryl Buckland and John Cross. And before tonight's forum, we flipped a coin to determine who would be giving the first opening statement. John Cross will give that first opening statement.
Great, thank you. Good evening, and thank you to the Findlay Publishing Company, our sponsors, and the University of Findlay for hosting tonight's candidate forum. I'm John Cross, and I'd like to go to work for you to become your next state representative in the 83rd District. As a proud, lifelong Republican, I'm running to make Hancock, Hardin, and Logan counties safer, stronger, and open for business. I'm a proud husband and father, and my wife, Christine, and I are raising our 2 young boys to love God and celebrate life at its fullest potential. We are members of St. Michael's Parish here in Findlay. I'm a passionate business leader, serving as the president and CEO and economic development director of the Hardin County Chamber and Business Alliance, and I'm a principled conservative who believes in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I'm proud to be born and raised right here in the district, and I'm proud to raise my family here. And I'm proud that my campaign is organized, run, and supported by the great people of the 83rd District, and not run by special interests in Columbus. Like many voters, I'm tired of the negative political antics, corrupt politicians, and State House establishment not advancing our needs and opportunities for Northwest Ohio. I want to restore values of honesty, integrity, and selflessness back into public service. We need it now more than ever. I want to make sure our children and our grandchildren have better opportunities to learn, work, live, and love it here like I have. And I want to provide a strong pro-business voice at the State House to champion our farmers and small business owners, to our large employers, to keep Hancock County open for business. I will always protect your rights and freedoms. I am 100% pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, pro-business, pro-law enforcement, pro-family, and pro-Trump. And the only Republican candidate in this race to be endorsed by the Ohio Right to Life, the Right to Life Action Coalition of Ohio, the Buckeye Firearms Association, Ohioans for Concealed Carry, your Hancock County Sheriff Mike Heldman, along with our Hardin and Logan County Sheriffs, and many more civic, business, and education leaders in the 83rd District, which you can view on my website at votejohncross.com. I'm honored to receive these endorsements based upon my conservative beliefs and issues I stand for and will fight for. I believe voters are ready for fresh, new leadership and a strong conservative voice in the State House who will fight for and champion the people and the communities of the 83rd District. I'm looking forward to tonight's candidate forum and to answer questions about important issues that voters care about. Thank you very much.
Ms. Buckland.
Thank you to the hosts of this evening's event. Special thanks to the voters of the 83rd District who expect an honest and thought-provoking debate. Voters deserve a state representative with the character, integrity, and proven ability to honorably and effectively represent them in the State House. I am that candidate, a registered nurse, a farm girl at heart, a successful businesswoman, a 2-term Republican State Central Committee woman, and a lifelong Ohio Republican. My family taught me the value of hard work. My parents taught me the importance of an untarnished reputation. My husband taught me to pray for the souls of bullies. I have over 40 years of measurable accomplishments: healthcare, education, business, and philanthropic accomplishments to benefit my patients, students, employees, and community. My husband and I built and expanded a successful business in Fostoria, Independence House, a senior care campus where we cared for and respected the seniors of our community, while my opponent chased marketing contracts with California politicians. I am a principled risk taker, not a risk. I am a lifelong Buckeye whose campaign was funded by Ohio Republicans. While my opponent accepted money from out-of-state donors who want to impact Ohio's legislation for their own benefit, I am a fiscal conservative. Ohio taxpayers want a representative like me who will work to eliminate waste, lower taxes, and create opportunities. I do not believe that donors expect an individual to pay for drone flyovers, a tour bus, or a yellow Hummer. I don't believe those are the ideals of the 83rd District. I'm the only candidate endorsed by current State Representative Robert Sprague, who knows that I have the experience and drive to continue the important work he started in Columbus. My opponent's own Hardin County Republican Committee did not endorse him, even when he pushed for an up or down vote. As a nurse, I can effectively tackle the opiate healthcare crisis that is devastating our state. I helped create a successful multidisciplinary approach in helping opiate-addicted mothers deliver healthy babies while seeking treatment for their own opiate addiction. I'm the only candidate bringing real-life insight to address a Medicaid budget that consumes nearly 50% of our tax dollars. I stand for less regulation, taxes, and more opportunities for business builders in Ohio. I have the experience, maturity, and leadership that voters expect. I bring the honesty that voters seek. I'm proud of my legacy. I'm a promise keeper, not a promise maker. I am humbled to be given this opportunity to serve.
All right, so now we get into the question and answer portion of our forum. As we did say in the setup, candidates will have a chance for a rebuttal when called into question. Given the line of our questioning, we'll get into rebuttals as we begin the question process here. Ms. Buckland, you'll have the first opportunity. I'll ask the first two questions. Steve will then follow with the next two questions, and we'll follow that format throughout the evening. So with that said, we'll start with the most current events in the campaign. That and the issue of political action committees supporting both of your campaigns, lobbing some pretty hefty accusations against either of you. Do you approve of the methods being applied by these political action committees, and how much influence from sources outside of the 83rd House District should there be in this campaign?
I don't think voters of the 83rd District are used to a campaign like this. State representative races tend to be low-key and, for the most part, civil. Candidates don't have control over outside groups who have a vested interest in having the right candidates in Columbus, Ohio. With that said, I've tried to stay above board on my Facebook posts and other communications that my personal campaign has sent. I think most people in the United States of America would prefer we didn't have money spent on ads. Frankly, I was surprised as anyone to see the accusations that were apparently founded on truth.
Strauss.
Thank you. Well, certainly, reset.
We'll reset that. There we go.
That was a quick 90 seconds.
Just go ahead and restart the clock.
We're good.
And now we're ready to go.
Okay. Thank you very much. Well, certainly the attacks are directed at me. We've got dark money and political insiders and special interests from Washington, D.C. to Columbus, Ohio, that are supporting my opponent and her allies, and they're attacking me. And they're attacking me because we have a winning campaign and a winning message. People in this race want to elect a strong, conservative Republican that will stand for life, that will stand for the Second Amendment, and that will help our business community and our schools and our education, and people are afraid to send this kind of leadership to Columbus, Ohio. So for the last 10 days, I have been under attack by my opponent's allies and special interest money and campaign folks that are helping her out in Columbus and Washington, D.C. And for the last 10 days, I've asked my opponent to denounce this kind of trash politics. It's not working. I've been knocking doors the last week, and voters are tired of this. They're tired of the negative antics. They're tired of the trash politics, and I want to go to Columbus, and it's time to take the trash out. It's time to have honesty and integrity and provide good values and make sure that we have the best conservative Republican that will always be there for us on life, that will always be there for you on the Second Amendment, and that will fight hard and champion the people in the 83rd District. These are untruthful, misleading lies and junk and trash politics. It doesn't deserve to be in this race in the 83rd District. We have enough of the swamp in Washington, D.C. We don't need the swamp coming right here in the 83rd District.
I want to follow up on that with a bit more of a direct line of questioning. Do you support the actions being done by political action committees on your behalf? Because I know that I've received the flyers from both sides, obviously, that are not attached to either candidate. But do you support or hold in truth what the political action committees who support your campaign are saying? Since this, I'll just make this my second question, and Mr. Cross, we'll start with you.
Yeah, certainly, this is not what people want in campaigns. People, what they want are candidates who are directing their campaigns. And once again, as I said in my opening statement, I'm proud that my campaign is being directed and run by the people of the 83rd District. I'm proud to have former Hancock County Commissioner Ed Ingold serving as a co-chair. I'm proud to have the former Trump campaign chair in Hancock County, Cheryl Blakely, helping us right here in Hancock County try to deliver a positive message, help to really focus on making our communities safer, making our communities stronger, making sure that we have the right policies to keep it open for business. We don't need these deceitful attacks. I remember when I was a young kid, I had my 6-shooter and my cowboy hat, and I was trying to go after the guy behind the mask. Well, the villain is here, and they're hiding behind their mask. They're afraid to come out of the dark shadows to tell you who they are. We're going to find out who they are on April 26th when they have to disclose their money, and you're going to find out who all these people are who are trying to take me down and attack me. It hasn't bothered me. I'm still 6'4". I'm still Catholic. I'm still conservative, and I'm still standing strong. When you go to the legislature, this is nothing compared to what you're going to have to deal with when you go to Columbus. And you're going to need someone who will fight for you and champion for you. This doesn't bother me. These negative politics don't bother me because I know the truth. My family knows the truth. And the people that support me in the 83rd District know the truth.
Well, I'm not sure if my opponent answered the question. Outside groups obviously want to support a candidate, and in my case, who obviously is a conservative Republican. I don't think, John, you answered the question about the swamp creature, because that card did not come from, I believe, any group that's supporting me. And I also don't think it speaks well of false accusations about sign stealing from an 82-year-old man. So the PACs themselves will do what they do. I may not like it and I may not support it, but I don't think as a local politician there's much I can do about it, other than say I don't like it, and if I had my choice, I would prefer that they not. But they have reasons for doing so, and they continue to put money behind those ads, and we probably will see more of them.
Mr. Cross, we'll give you rebuttal on that.
Sure, well, here are the facts. The facts are my opponent is being supported by Cliff Rosenberger, the current Ohio House Speaker, who has now resigned under FBI investigation. The facts are my opponent wrote a $10,000 check to the Ohio House Republican Caucus, and her campaign is being run by a corrupt leadership in Columbus, Ohio. The facts are my campaign is being run by people in the 83rd District, and once again, voters heard it right in front of that camera, and the folks in this room, my opponent will still not denounce these tactics. She won't denounce the campaign. You certainly, as a candidate, have the right to go out there publicly and say that this kind of trash politics needs to stop. And it needs to stop because all you're doing is putting out false, misleading information. And once again, tonight, she won't do that. So I think what I'm going to do tonight is continue to focus on my positive message, focus on our campaign, talk about the issues of where I stand, as I'm the only pro-life candidate in this race. My opponent is not. I'm the only pro-Second Amendment, strong pro-Second Amendment in this race. My candidate is not. My opponent is not. And I think endorsements matter. You know, endorsements being endorsed by the Right to Life and the Right to Life Action Coalition being endorsed by Buckeye Firearms and Ohioans for Concealed Carry. I turned in those surveys. I turned in that information and to earn those endorsements, and my opponent did not. So I think this race is she's just trying to hide behind the issues through all these dark money and super PACs.
Well, I've monopolized about the first 17 minutes of questions here, so Steve, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. First question will be for you, Ms. Buckland. You both have said supporters of your opponent may have damaged campaign signs. Do you stand by those statements? And what would you call on your supporters to do to positively support your campaign?
Can I go first?
Yes.
Well, my supporters have been positively supporting my campaign. I believe that the individuals who support me in my campaign today have helped with door-to-doors. They've helped with phone calls. I've not known a single person in my campaign that's participated in any sort of negative destruction within this campaign. I think that the individuals that support me know the type of person I am. They're of the same character, of the same integrity, and I think they will continue to do what they have done best for me so far, which is advocate why I am the adult in the room, the person with the maturity and the experience who's not swayed by money or power. I'm not accountable, John, and I'm not responsible for young men in Columbus that are swayed by power or by politics. I've supported Republicans my entire life and don't apologize for giving contributions. Larry and I have done that for several years, and along with the rest of my supporters, they've done the same. So I would just ask my supporters continue to be the constructive, positive supporters that they've been throughout the entire past year.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cross?
For our campaign, it's important that our campaign is being run like the candidate should run this campaign. And so I'm not going to take a minute and 30 seconds to discuss this other than, campaigns, kids, I'm sure, will go out and steal signs and do all kinds of stuff. But, I certainly witnessed with my two own eyes my opponent's husband tampering with our sign. I took photographs, turned it into the Hancock County Sheriff's Office and let the sheriff investigate it. And I'll let the voters decide who the adult is in the room. I'll let the voters decide which candidate is focused on the issues. And I'll let the voters decide who is the true conservative in this race. So what I'm looking forward to is more important questions than this kind of trash politics we're talking about tonight.
Okay, let's move on then. The Ohio legislature has taken steps to reduce the problems of overdose deaths and the opioid addiction problem. Yet overdose deaths appear to continue to rise, and the drug addiction problem is still a major one. Are there other approaches to the problem which have been overlooked that need to be tried? John, we'll start with you.
Well, certainly, I've been on record in this campaign talking about the drug issue. I believe that we need to double down the efforts in drug prevention. I was a fifth grader, and I had my DARE officer, Ron Rogers, who might be watching tonight. Hello, Ron. And he had a great effect on me through the DARE program. It was the Just Say No program. Nancy Reagan led the efforts to just say no across the country. And I had two wonderful parents who instilled good values in me to make sure that I didn't go down the wrong path. I think what we need to do is put good money into good opportunities and double down on drug prevention efforts. We cannot afford, as a state of Ohio, to allow another 30 years of our young children, our two boys who could go to middle school and be offered drugs in middle school. Will they say no? How do we stop them from getting hooked onto drugs? How do we stop drug abuse and drug use? I also believe that government is not in the business of solving all these problems. I want to look to our faith leaders, our youth leaders, our civic organizations to look at different ways that we can help work on drug prevention efforts, because once again, we can't bankrupt the state of Ohio dealing with another 30 years of people from ages, middle school ages and their teenage years to our ages getting hooked on drugs. I definitely would make sure that we work with our local law enforcement and our local resources to try to double down efforts on drug prevention. That's something I'm focused on.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Buckland?
As the candidate who has had a considerable amount of experience dealing with the opiate crisis the past year, I think it requires a paradigm shift and a different way that we look at the crisis today. It's a public health issue. It requires it being addressed as a medical issue and I think our public health departments deserve a much larger role. Opiate addiction is not a choice. Unfortunately, many people come through the door of legal and required prescriptions, supposedly for pain that can't be managed any other way. Prevention's big. We know that 25-year-olds, if they stay away from addicted substances, probably will never start them. But more importantly, we need to take a look at all the agencies today that are spending money on the opiate crisis and how we can combine those silos and consolidate our monetary efforts. Because our numbers are getting worse, they're not getting better. Right now, the General Assembly has 2 physicians and 1 pharmacist, and one of the physicians will be term limited. We have very few people in the House right now and in the Senate with a healthcare background. And we need people with that experience and that expertise to have the conversation about drug addiction and what we can do differently in the course of the next 8 years that we've not done the past 8. Because we, as the state of Ohio, should be shocked and very upset and concerned about the numbers as they continue to rise in the number of opiate deaths.
Let's stay on the same topic, and we'll start with you, Ms. Buckland. You mentioned that the numbers are getting worse. Are there ways to get some quick victories in this fight? And if so, what are they?
One thing that we've done here in Findlay, Ohio, is address the opiate-addicted mom. It's been a non-judgmental approach. We've asked the individuals within the community that help people with drug addiction to refer pregnant women who are addicted to the MOMS program. The courts have agreed oftentimes to refer the women to the program rather than incarceration. And in this way, we can help deliver healthy babies and also get help for the mothers themselves. That's certainly one effective way. I think the judicial system has also been very effective in allowing outside treatment in lieu of incarceration. Our jails were never intended to be psychiatric facilities or facilities for those that have drug addiction and maybe a dual diagnosis of both. We emptied the state hospitals years ago. I'm not advocating we go back to the state hospitals, but we need more beds for mental health patients who also have drug addiction problems. We need treatment beds. Our jail systems were never intended for that, and we need to have alternative placement for individuals who are dealing with drug addiction today.
Mr. Cross.
Thank you. I think that on the drug prevention side, first, there's some great things happening to secure our schools. We are looking at putting resource officers in the schools to keep our schools safe, to keep our children safe, to keep our teachers safe. And in school districts in Kenton, Ohio, where we've never had a resource officer in the school before, now we're looking at putting a resource officer in that can not just keep our schools safe, but be great mentors to these students. And then also, hopefully in return, be great advocates for drug prevention efforts. So instead of spending additional funds or trying to come up with different programs, I think local school districts and local law enforcement are trying to spend their money wise and well to collaborate on what they can do best to provide some good mentorship. When I was a substitute teacher for 3 months after college, I would always get assigned to the elementary schools, and I kept asking, why am I being assigned to the elementary schools? And they said, John, there's not a lot of fathers as parents, and so to have a male teacher in the classroom is important. So I think having mentorship, giving someone that these children can look up to are important. And then making sure that our law enforcement and our judicial system have the right kind of laws to deter criminal activity. If we could get out there on Interstate 75 and deter drug pushers from coming up into our communities and getting the drugs into the streets. As the sheriff's talk, it's not just about opioids, but fentanyl and heroin and all kinds of drugs that are damaging to our community. We got to make sure we have the right kind of laws for them.
All right, we'll go one more question, and then we'll take our break here at about the halfway point. What role do you think the state legislature plays in job development, and is there anything more the state could be doing to drive economic growth? And we'll start with you, Mr. Cross.
Well, certainly this is an important subject for me. I serve as the Economic Development Director in Hardin County, and I thought the state has done a great job. First, what they've done is privatized economic development in the state of Ohio. Jobs Ohio has kind of been taken out of the Department of Development and privatized, and they're doing an excellent job helping local economic development professionals like myself and Tim Miley here in Hancock County and others across Ohio to retain, attract, and recruit new jobs and new businesses. It gives them the ability to create incentive programs and do a lot of things that government really can't do. And so I think in order to attract and retain business, we have to have a couple things. First, we have to have workforce. We can't continue to welcome jobs and opportunities in the state of Ohio if we're not doing things at an education, at a baseline education level to prepare students for skills just as much as degrees. I think we've got to make sure that we have a great quality of life and good housing to welcome a workforce in this community. And I think businesses are not going to locate here if we have one of the worst tax structures in Ohio. We're one of the top 10 worst states that has the worst tax policy. We're the 4th highest business tax and the 4th worst state income tax outside of New York, New Jersey, and California. So we've got to get our regulations and our tax structure fixed before businesses will continue to invest in the great state of Ohio.
Buckler.
I think there's several issues. One, you can't talk about workforce development without talking about the opiate crisis. When you have people that are addicted to drugs and they can't pass the drug test, jobs go unfilled. I think number two, we made a real mistake in high school education by eliminating SHOP and home ec and those skilled trades that so many students would much prefer to gravitate to rather than college. Obviously, I have a college education, I'm pro-college, but recognizing that's not for everybody. And we should applaud people that want to be plumbers and also electricians and also woodworkers and people that want to stay in the agricultural community. There's a real concern on the part of ag. It's very difficult to find ag teachers, and what kind of wages and what kind of environment and communities are we providing for kids to come back and run the family farm? So I think it's a multifaceted issue. Fortunately, we have programs today that are encouraging kids to go into ag. We should applaud that and encourage that. Kids don't want to be saddled with a debt where they can't make a living. But I think those issues combined, the opiate crisis, workforce, and what are we doing in the state of Ohio to encourage young people to stay? We definitely have a brain drain. We've got still a lot of places within the state that never recovered when the auto industries went out of business as well. Job training, collaboration with our local business leaders and also our Chamber of Commerce's and Alliance is what we should do as legislators in Columbus.
All right, with that said, we are at the halfway point of tonight's forum. We'll take a 2-minute break. When we come back, still several more questions and closing statements still to come here tonight.
Why do I choose Union Bank? Because they understand that I work hard for my money and deserve a reward, like everyday rewards checking. A checking account that rewards you with a refund on your ATM charges. Plus, you can get paid cash rewards or great interest rate rewards just for using your debit card or paying a bill online, right from your phone or tablet. Stop by the Union Bank today and ask about everyday rewards checking, or visit us online. Your community bank. Union Bank. Member FDIC.
Rental Property is a family-owned and operated residential rental company serving Findlay, Ohio and the surrounding areas. For over 50 years, Wasboro Rental Property has helped residents find the right apartment to fit their needs. Go to theshermanhouse.net for more rental information or call 419-423-8321. Wasboro is proud to support the Findlay Media Network.
Why do I choose Union Bank? Because life is busy, and Union Bank understands that. So when I can't make it to the branch, I can still bank on my time. They offer a mobile app so I can pay bills on my cell phone. Mobile deposit so I can deposit a check with the click of a phone or tablet. And ATMs where I need them. Union Bank knows what I need. Go to theubank.com to find out how they can help you too. Your community bank. Union Bank. Member FDIC. Why do I choose Union Bank? Because life is busy, and Union Bank understands that. So when I can't make it to the branch, I can still bank on my time. They offer a mobile app so I can pay bills on my cell phone. Mobile deposit so I can deposit a check with the click of a phone or tablet. And ATMs where I need them. Union Bank knows what I need. Go to theubank.com to find out how they can help you too. Your community bank. Union Bank. Member FDIC. Why do I choose Union Bank? Because life is busy, and Union Bank understands that. So when I can't make it to the branch, I can still bank on my time. They offer a mobile app so I can pay bills on my cell phone. Mobile deposit so I can deposit a check with the click of a phone or tablet. And ATMs where I need them. Union Bank knows what I need. Go to the ubank.com to find out how they can help you too.
The next two questions tonight's forum.
Okay. Many local officials have taken issue with the state taking over or taking away revenue streams for local government. For instance, the county no longer receives money from sales taxes on Medicaid items. How can the state better help local governments deal with reduced revenue streams? Ms. Buckland?
My first.
Yeah.
First of all, let me say, I'm very supportive of townships, then counties, then state. People who live in the area manage their money best. And I recently had a couple of township trustees ask me that very same question about monies that aren't brought back to the district. People talk about block grants, they talk about monies that are funded in large sums. Let local people decide how they want their money spent. Our rainy day fund was pretty empty before Kasich came into office, and it's important that we have sufficient dollars in the rainy day fund in Columbus, Ohio. But we shouldn't saddle or burden local government with monies that the state of Ohio is withholding or keeping. So I am an advocate for any monies that are in Ohio's budget that should come back to the local level, that they are done so we can decide how we spend that money, not Columbus.
You know, I'm disappointed in Governor Kasich that he reaches in the cookie jar and takes away dollars to balance the budget to make himself look good, and then try to go run for president of the United States and leave us high and dry in Hardin, Hancock, and Logan counties. As I've traveled this entire district, I've met with every township and every village, and they say, John, our budgets are off 30, 40, 50% because the greedy politicians in Columbus, Ohio, go to Columbus and they worry about what they can spend their dollars on. They forget about us. That's going to change when I get in office. We're going to go down to Columbus, and we're going to not make sure that we have another municipal income tax collection where the state of Ohio is going to collect all the municipal income taxes and charge our villages and our cities 1%. 1% today doesn't mean it's not going to be 2% tomorrow and 5% 5 years down the road, and all of a sudden we have another state income tax. That has to stop. If we want to improve our infrastructure, if we want to improve future development, more housing, more economic development opportunities, we need to get the dollars back into the council members' hands that are here tonight and to the mayor's hands to let them make the capital improvements that they need to make for their communities. We're going through expensive downtown redevelopments, aging infrastructure. We have 100-year-old pipes and water lines and sewer lines that need to be fixed. Yet Columbus, Ohio is worried about how they can fund all their entitlement programs and all their social programs. We need to get the dollars back right here to Hancock County so you all can make those investments in your community.
Okay, next question. Let's go with the farm question. Farm field runoff is seen as one of the primary contributors to the annual algal blooms in Lake Erie and other Ohio bodies of water. Former Senator Cliff Height helped pass a bill that set voluntary guidelines for the use of farm fertilizer, encouraged farmers to become certified, and began monitoring fields to gauge nutrient levels. Now there is discussion in Columbus about making rules mandatory. Do you support tougher standards for farmers and more testing on their fields? Yes.
Great. I toured Hardin County and the Kellogg farm in particular. I was very impressed with that farmer and his son, what they have done in identifying phosphorus hotspots and also the type of equipment that they are currently using to gauge the exact amount of chemicals that are put on the ground. I also observed that same at another farm where they planted rye cover crop in order to prevent the fertilizer and chemicals from running off any faster than they usually do. Farmers do have a responsibility for clean water in northwestern Ohio and also Lake Erie, but I am also here to tell you, farmers are not the only problem. Industry has been a tremendous abuser of the dumping of chemicals in our lakes and our streams for a number of years. Farmers have, I believe, made a good faith effort voluntarily to participate in conservation measures. I attend regularly the Ohio State Extension seminars that are held down in Mount Victory, and I would say that education has been a key motivation on their part in making sure that farmers are educated on what they should or should not do. As a general rule of thumb, I'm not an advocate for mandatory regulations. We need to work with the farmers, not against them. We need to support our ag community, not work against them. Because from what I have seen in the 83rd District, our farmers are working very hard to address this issue.
Unless I heard my opponent wrong, the farmers are not the problem. Farmers are our first small business owners in this community. And I think a good example of the right things that are happening is down in Logan County between the Indian Lake watershed and the farmers that are farming around the Indian Lake watershed. We certainly don't want Indian Lake to turn into a St. Mary's or a situation like Lake Erie. And what they're doing is farmers are not being over-regulated. They're not being boxed in with unnecessary regulations to farm. They're down there farming, they're providing a buffer zone, they're making sure that they're not farming to the edge of their properties, and it's a good private partnership between the farms and the lake, and that's called responsible farming. It's just good practices that they're trying to do to make sure that everybody wins in this situation. The last thing we need to do to our farmers who feed the world, who work extremely hard every day at 4 a.m. until the sun goes down, is to box them in with additional regulations. Farming in this community is the largest industry. Billions of dollars are being exported every day in this community, and the last thing we need to do is turn them away. And the other thing we don't need to do is prevent generational farming from stop. We can't make it hard on the farmer that the next generation doesn't want to take over the family farm.
Thank you.
I do want to follow up, possibly rebuttal on this. Just because it was brought up, Ms. Buckland, would you support further regulation on farmers as was somewhat suggested?
I think people need to remember right now we're candidates. I'd have to take a look at what is proposed. Again, as a general rule of thumb, I am not a proponent of further regulation. So without looking at what's currently being proposed, that would be my answer. Overall, I am not for more regulation, no.
Okay.
Once again, it's these unwavering.
Hang on a second. We're gonna.
Okay.
We'll get to the.
Was that a rebuttal?
That was just a rebuttal too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes. I do want to get into our next line of questioning. The subject of housing has been brought up tonight. And in Findlay, we do see the prospect of economic development, while some would say housing lags behind, especially affordable housing. How would you encourage affordable housing in the district? What's the best technique for that? Mr. Cross, we'll start with you.
Well, first, we need to invest in infrastructure. I know that I used to work for a developer, and we used to develop commercial property, industrial property, and had great experiences understanding how that process works. As a developer, you're not going to go in a community and try to provide housing or commercial or retail development if the city doesn't have the right infrastructure, the right sewer lines, the water lines, the curbs, the sidewalks, the gutters, all the things that you need that developers don't want to pay for. So once again, we need to make sure that we try to return resources and assets back to the city of Findlay, back to all of our villages, to make sure that if there's opportunities to build further housing, which we need, there's not a lot of turnkey properties, to welcome a new workforce, to maintain a workforce. We need those dollars to be returned back here. And I think whether it's housing, retail, commercial, industrial development, it takes dollars to make sure you have the right infrastructure in place. And that's something that I'm extremely focused on going down to the State House for us.
Buckland?
I think my answer would be similar to what it was before about dollars that go to Columbus, that they're brought back to the individual communities and let them decide how to use it. The housing problem here in Findlay is being addressed. We have started additional housing for people that are making $15 an hour in that range. But I would say one of the biggest challenges we have is loosening up funds from Columbus, Ohio to come back to communities that have paid that money to begin with.
All right. Well, we do tend to focus a lot on Findlay and Hancock County in these forums since we're holding them in Findlay, but obviously there are issues that affect Hardin and northern Logan County, perhaps to a greater degree than here. What would you say some of those issues are, and why would you be the candidate to address them? And we'll start with you, Ms. Buckland.
Hardin County and Logan County has been part of my district as State Central Committee woman. And one thing you'll notice as you start to travel further south on 68, you even have greater expanses of farm ground and also agriculture. Hardin County has lost several thousand jobs, along with the area here in Hancock and also down in Logan. And I think we all face those same challenges. We have a tax structure that isn't always conducive to enticing people to come here. We have challenges as far as the opiate crisis goes. We also, here in the state of Ohio, rank number 50 in what we provide for child care and also foster care. So I think there are a number of socioeconomic issues outside of just housing and attracting people to come back to the counties. But I would say Hardin and Logan have similar problems that we have here in Hancock County, and I'm proud to support their efforts as well. They're part of this district.
Mr. Cross?
I'm proud to be born and raised in Hardin County. There's a lot of great people down there that are working extremely hard. And let me provide a positive comment about Hardin County and Logan County. In the last 4 years in economic development, we welcomed over $400 million of new capital investment. You're starting to see people invest in downtown buildings, new restaurants, new businesses moving into the community. And the same goes for Logan County. And so I'm pretty optimistic. I have to be. I'm the economic development director. There's a lot of good things happening here. And so we have to make sure we continue to divest in business. You know, manufacturing is going to obviously be on a slow decline over the next few years because of automation and workforce issues. And so we need to continue to welcome a diversity of business in Hardin County to make sure that we're not just putting all of our eggs in one basket. And the same goes for Logan County. We represent the 3 northern townships, Bell Center, Rushsylvania, and West Mansfield. I've knocked on a lot of doors in all 3 of those communities. And what those people want are good paying jobs, livable wages, access to great health care, to make sure that their family prospers here and continue to live here, because there's a lot of good people that are proud to be from those areas. And that's what we got to go champion at the State House in Columbus.
Okay. With medical marijuana becoming legal in Ohio soon, how do you feel about the rules that govern its use? Mr. Cross?
Well, it will not be legal in Ohio if I can vote for it. I will not vote for legalizing marijuana. First, I've met with a lot of doctors, nurses. I've met with a pharmacist who's a neighbor friend of mine. She said, John, whatever you do not allow Ohio to legalize marijuana. It is a gateway drug. We've got fentanyl. We've got this drug. We've got that drug. The last thing we need to do are our 2 boys and your sons and daughters getting more drugs and more access to drugs that do not do themselves any good. My father-in-law is one of the top neurologists in the country, and he said, John, there's cases of uncontrollable vomiting in the ERs in Colorado and California. And for all those in the room that might have smoked pot in the 60s and 70s, it's not 100% pure pot that people are smoking today. It is going to cause problems, and it is going to cause issues, and I will not allow that to happen in the state of Ohio.
I think your question was relative to, could you repeat it?
Yeah, I did say medical marijuana.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's what I
I'm
thought.
sorry. Well, you know where I stand on the other side of it. I'm sorry, I missed that.
If I were a czar of drugs, medical marijuana should be regulated through the FDA. Unfortunately, federal laws consider it illegal. Medical marijuana, unfortunately, is oftentimes used by those who don't need it for medical purposes. It is a gateway drug. The long-term outcomes are poor and not good, but the state of Ohio has decided that we would have medical marijuana shops. Although my personal feelings are I don't support marijuana use, period, I do understand, particularly with veterans, that they have a real strong interest in its use because they found it's one of the few things that is effective for them. Regulation's important. Unfortunately, that's not always followed. I have concerns about the illegality of people who use it and distribute it or sell it to others. But the laws as they stand now, I think they are regulating as best they can by only having several designated spots throughout the state of Ohio.
For the record, Mr. Cross, could you tell us briefly where you stand on medical marijuana?
Yeah, well, I support that, but that shouldn't be an easy way or a foot in the door to get to legalizing marijuana in general. So certainly I have talked to families who use some of the chemicals to help stop tremors and shakes. Certainly understand that there are some medical needs for it, but we can't abuse that system. Doctors can't abuse that system, patients can't abuse that system, and it shouldn't be a gateway to legalizing marijuana in the state of Ohio.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wind turbines are slowly popping up on landscapes in the district, especially in Hardin County. But restrictive setback rules are probably preventing more wind farm development. Where do you stand on alternative energy, and would you be in favor of easing those setbacks if it would encourage development? Ms. Buckland?
No. Wind turbines put a significant amount of concrete in the ground for each turbine that's put up. I haven't seen anybody address the issue of who's going to take care of it in 25 years when the life expectancy of those turbines don't work. With that said, if you have a level playing field for all energy sources, and if that's the most cost effective, that might be one thing. But by changing setbacks, that also affects farmers and private property owners. And I think anytime when you're looking at energy, you need to balance the need of business as well as the agricultural community. I think they should be left where they are.
Well, obviously, my opponent has not talked to the farmers in Hardin County who see this as part of their business model. How can you say no to something when farmers are wanting these on their properties? I support personal property rights, but I also support what Senator McCauley is trying to do and adding an amendment to legislation that's being created from a senator in Cleveland that probably has no idea about what's happening in Hardin County, that if these turbines fall outside of their zone and they go into a neighboring property, that neighbor should benefit from that project. That neighbor should have an up or down vote if they want that project there. But I also believe in local controls. Our commissioners and our townships should have the ultimate say. The people should have the ultimate say whether they want these projects in Hardin County or in the 83rd District. And so I support property rights, but I also need to make sure that we support the right kind of setbacks, that neighboring properties and neighbors have a say in this process, and make sure that our county commissioners and our township trustees have the ultimate authority to say yes or no if they want this kind of development.
Thank you.
Just real quick, because there was some question brought up, this will be a rebuttal for you, Ms. Buckland. Have you had the opportunity, or have you talked to area farmers about their thoughts on wind energy?
Yes, in Hardin County, when you're down in Dola and you're looking at the development that's happened over the past year, I have found responses to be mixed. I've had township trustees that think it is an economic boom. I have had other township trustees that see it as a real burden to the farmers. Recently, when I was down there, one of them that broke during the last windstorm, whether it was a defective turbine or whether it was a lightning strike, regardless, they're going to have to take heavy equipment in there to fix that and repair that. Now, you have culverts to worry about, you have roads to worry about, and I have heard both the pros and the cons. I agree, if that's what a community wants to have, that is their decision to make. But wind energy has not been without its problems, and recently that issue is going to cause a great deal of money and angst on the part of property owners.
All right, I believe we have time for at least one more question before we get into our closing statements. We'll go to the issue of education. The state's been criticized for putting too many burdens on school districts in terms of standardized testing. What do you believe the best approach to public education is in Ohio? And I believe we start with Mr. Cross on this one.
Well, the best approach is, my wife who's here tonight is a teacher, and there's a lot of teachers and former teachers in the room here tonight. I believe in a bottom-up approach to education. I don't think that bureaucrats in Columbus, Ohio should be telling our teachers and administrators what is best. Anything that we can do to reduce over-testing only helps us add better curriculum and more vocational opportunities. Like we talked about, we need skills more than we need degrees. And so when we've lost industrial arts and home ec, and we've lost these opportunities, we're looking at ways that we can try to bring this back. And so you've got great places like Ohio High Point Career Center, who's trying to work to integrate great educational opportunities, and other places throughout the 83rd District. I believe education should be more than just textbooks. I mean, and I don't support approach to Common Core. Certainly Carson, who's a second grader, and I'm trying to help him with his math. I'm a college-educated man from The Ohio State University, and I'm having a hard time trying to help him get through his second grade math. It shouldn't be that way. We need to make sure that we let our teachers teach and let our schools find the best curriculum that matches the workforce development opportunities in Northwest Ohio. I don't approve a one-size-fits-all approach to economic development, I don't approve a one-size-fits-all approach on how we handle education. Parents should have the best choice of what they want to do for their students, and we should allow our teachers and public schools to have the best opportunities to do the best teaching they can and not be over-restricted.
Ms. Buckland?
Yes, question again, please.
Yes, so with the state being criticized for putting too many burdens on school districts, especially in the terms of standardized testing, what do you think the best approach is for public education in Ohio?
Excuse me, the question, standardized testing, that didn't exist when I was in school. I think oftentimes today teachers are having to teach to the test itself. I think, again, it goes back to regulations. I believe less is more, that people of a local area and a local district should make that decision. Parents should have a decision and be able to make the decision where their kids go to public school or private school. Overall, I feel that teachers don't have the same independence and latitude they had certainly when I was growing up and over the last few decades. I think every child needs to know how to read and write and do math and be able to get along in the world, and shouldn't be advanced until they are able to read. So I would say generally, I think children are over-tested. The educators I talk to and the educators that have left teaching would concur with the same. We need to make sure that kids have basic understanding before they are moved from grade to grade, but teaching every child every area that they think they need in an area that they may never ever practice or work in probably isn't in the best interest of the student.
All right, with that said, we are now to our closing statements portion of tonight's forum. And as Ms. Buckland had the last of the opening statements, she will have the first of the closing statements. And I'll turn the floor to you.
I do best when I speak from the heart, and that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm 63 years old. I think we need not just more women or more grandmothers, but that we need more mature people in politics today. We have far too many young men in particular that see it as a career ladder or a path to fame and glory. I've been blessed in my lifetime more than what I feel I deserve. But I have been a public servant my entire life. And if elected, and if I am honored enough to go to Columbus, I will work for you. This is not a career ladder to be governor. I'm not interested in going to Washington, D.C. I had somebody tell me recently from Hardin County, she said, Cheryl, I support you because I know you care about me. I've made wonderful friends in Logan, Hardin, and I know many, many of you here in Hancock County. I grew up in Wyandotte County. My heart is here. My passion and love is here. Larry and I have been blessed. We have given back of our time, talent, and treasures, and I see it as another opportunity to serve all of you. I don't have all the answers, and I don't know all the issues, but I will tell you this. You don't go to Columbus and tell people what it is that you're going to do. You go down there to be a team player. I am non-judgmental. I am an open book. I believe that God has given us 2 ears to listen and only 1 mouth to speak. And that would be my motivation and what I would promise people when I go down there. I have been endorsed by the folks of the 83rd District. I did not seek endorsements, as oftentimes they only divide people. I think as a candidate, you must respect each person where they come. And I would do that for all of you, regardless of what the issue is. It is not my job to judge. I would be honored to serve you as your next state representative of the 83rd District.
Mr. Cross.
Thank you. We haven't elected a pro-choice gun grabber from the 83rd District. We are not going to start tonight. And to the 2 questions that didn't get asked, I am the strongest pro-life 100% candidate in this race, and I will always defend the Second Amendment rights. That is an important issue, 2 important issues to me. And Doug and Steve, I'd like to thank you and our event sponsors and our hosts for tonight's forum. I started this journey over 19 months ago when friends and supporters from Hancock County encouraged me to run for state representative. And throughout the past 19 months, I have worked tirelessly on this campaign to cover every square inch of Hancock County in the 83rd District. I've connected with communities, attending city, village, and township meetings from the district edge of Bluffton to the heart of Findlay to the district edge of Fostoria. I've met with township trustees and village councils who have never seen a candidate stop twice to say hello and stay connected. I've knocked on thousands of doors and met many wonderful, hardworking people in Mount Corey, Rawson, and Benton Ridge. I've attended the Hancock County Lamb Banquet in Genera, to Fish Fries in Macomb, and to the Apple Butter Festival in Van Buren. I've had coffee to listen to voters at the local dinners in Van Loo and Arcadia. I've hosted candidate meet and greets at flower shops in Mount Blanchard and renovated historical buildings that serve great wines in Arlington. I love this community, and I love the people. I grew up here in the district. I know what makes our communities great. I'm strong, tested, and experienced to champion the 83rd District. I will always defend your rights and freedoms, and I will continue to work tirelessly like I've done on this campaign to listen, to lead, and to legislate on issues that help advance our economy and quality of life. And I will never sacrifice our good Christian conservative values. So after 19 months, I'm excited to ask you all for your vote and ask for the people watching, asking for your vote on May 8th to become your Republican state representative candidate. My name's John Cross, and I want to go to work for you. Thank you very much.
All right. I'd like to thank both candidates for joining us tonight. If you'd like to learn more about the candidates, they both have robust social media presences, and I'm sure you can get their thoughts on tonight's forums on them probably within the next day or so. Also want to thank you for joining us tonight, and thanks to UFTV for televising the forum, and at WFIN at 1330 and 95.5 FM for live radio coverage, and of course the Courier for their work in covering this evening's festivities as well. You know, I used to be worse on the teleprompter, but here we are. Remember, early voting is underway now, and Election Day is coming up on May 8th. I'm Doug Jenkins, wishing you good night from the University of Findlay.
Why do I choose Union Bank? Because life is busy, and Union Bank understands that. So when I can't make it to the branch, I can still bank on my time. They offer a mobile app so I can pay bills on my cell phone. Mobile deposit, so I can deposit a check with the click of a phone or tablet. And ATMs, where I need them. Union Bank knows what I need. Go to theubank.com to find out how they can help you too. Your community bank. Union Bank. Member FDIC. Why do I choose Union Bank? Because life is busy,